From full stacks, attributes of the object to one-page apps, put it in effect, Angular to Z, modules, couplets, respect that developer all day. I'm that developer, and I'm here to help you. Have you ever been in a job interview and they ask you terms that you cannot remember because it's been several years since you've been in school? I got something for that ass. Check it out. I've created this document to help you as a review for what you've learned in your education and career. Because coming to the interview, job interviews, you will be questioned. Now, the aspects that make up a full stack front end developer are JavaScript, CSS, Java, or .NET, depending on which platform you're working on, and a bit of database and web services. Here's JavaScript. JavaScript is the language of the web browser. With it, you can change HTML content, attributes, and styles. JavaScript also has several frameworks that I like to work with personally and that you need to familiarize yourself with. They are Angular. Angular is used to bind data without using as many callbacks. Makes life a whole lot simpler. jQuery is a fast feature rich of JavaScript. It allows you to access data quick, fast, and in a hurry. Node JavaScript replaces PHP and allows for JavaScript to be full stack. There's Gulp, Backbone, and Backbone is basically a model, a template that binds your data in a rich API over RESTful services and allows you to create one-page apps that are not tied to the DOM. Check it out. Bootstrap. It has a bit of HTML, CSS, and JS. Of course, that's JavaScript. And how do I say? It's used to make web applications uniform. So no more struggling with IE. You know what I'm talking about. Design patterns. Prototype. I could go on and on. And make sure you know the difference between double equals and triple equals. The difference is double equals only checks the value. Triple equals checks the value and data type. Very important. I'm just going to go through this. And then we come to CSS. Of course, we have positioning, span, scaling an image, pseudo classes. I'm sure you know the most popular ones are active, hover, checked. And pseudo elements. And with CSS, you should know the difference between responsive design and adaptive design. Responsive design will fluidly change to respond to fit any device or screen, versus adaptive design will change to fit a predetermined set of device and screen sizes. I like to call this the difference between responsive as being Bootstrap, adaptive as being CSS media queries. And here we are with media queries, where you can also specify using them the size of what device the screen size is. For instance, right here, media, maximum size 600 pics, and you get the gist. We come to Java. Java is another object-oriented language that allows applications to be platform independent. In other words, they do not have to run in a web browser. They can be run on a desktop. Allows for encapsulation, polymorphism. A hint of polymorphism is overloading and overriding. Overloading has methods have the same name but different parameters. Overriding is when a child redefines the parent class. Inheritance, interface, and abstract. You should know the difference between an interface and an abstract class. An interface is an empty shell, public by default, and it has no methods, where an abstract has its own methods. The difference between public, private, and protected class. I like to call this public. Of course, anyone can see it. Private, only you can see it. Protected, your children know about it. Kind of like your family. And the variable, we'll scroll down to this. And then we come to JSTL. I like to call JSTL the marriage between a structured language like HTML and JSP. It's beautiful. Check it out. And then we come to .NET. This is a little bit of ASP.NET, Razor, Forms, a little bit how you do a database call, VB script, because you don't ever know which part of .NET you're doing. Here we come to PHP, Zen framework. It's an open source framework for developing web applications. You execute a query, select the database. We come to HTML5. Difference between HTML5 and regular HTML. With HTML5, there's Canvas, SVG, but there's also in-browser storage. It's like a built-in database. There's several of them. There's IndexedDB. Chrome has its own called File System. Then there's local storage as well. And you could also use geolocation, drag and drop, app caching. We'll come back then to knowing a little bit more about Bootstrap and XML. Of course, you need XML if you're transferring data from a database. XML simplifies data sharing, transport. And databases. Know the difference between normalization, which is the process of organizing fields and tables to reduce redundancy. Deterministic, data basically always returns the same result. And non-deterministic data may return different results from specific calls. Triggers, SQL structures, basically select from where. Create tables, wildcards, insert, order by, distinct, and an inner join. The difference between an inner join and an outer join is an inner join joins the contents of the data, and an outer join just joins the tables but not the inner contents. And we come to web services. WSDL, Tomcat, Maven, JBoss. Tomcat is an open source management of Java servlets and JSP. Maven helps build the projects that are written in Java. It's also built into NetBeans, which I like. The difference between RESTful services and using SOAP. So RESTful services is a lightweight alternative that uses 4 HTTP requests to perform tasks: get, post, put, and delete. SOAP is a simple object access protocol that relies on XML to provide messaging services. Of course, we come to MVC, Model View Controller. Model View View Model. This is for instance, this is an example of Backbone. Basically does this. MVC, I'd say an example of that is Angular. Distributed Component Object Model, Corba, Spring Redflow. A Spring Redflow is basically, have you ever used an application and you press the back button and then suddenly the application doesn't work? That's because it's missing Spring. And with Spring Webflows, when you press the back button, it allows the application to run a little bit like a web page. And for anybody who's worth their grain in salt, they should remember the OSI model. Physical layer, data link layer, network, transport, session, presentation, and application layer. Physical layer is your hardware. The data link layer is basically the link between two connected nodes. The network, just think of it like the internet, how it transfers data. Transport defines the functional viable link of data sequences from point A to B. The session is basically the time thing of when Windows open, the dialogue between two computers. The presentation layer is basically what you see, defines between the application and layer entities, and of course the application is the actual application that you're looking at. A little bit about languages: first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and fifth generation. And for also the study, you're going to need to create sample applications. This also helps you get with the program. Review interview questions. I'll go over a few of those in my next webisode. And quizzes. All of these quizzes listed here: Angular, JavaScript, CSS, HTML5, SQL, PHP, jQuery, Java, XML, with the exception of JSTL and ASP, are on W3 schools. In my other one of my webisodes, we'll check out which websites to go for that helps you stay sharp. And that comes to the end. And be sure to check out my next week's video where I will go over mobile study sheet as well, so you can be, knowledgeable about what works for mobile.
Thank you for viewing. Please subscribe. Object-oriented OG Sunday night. Until the next webisode.